You want to know what makes people uneasy? It's not just a man who's single, it's a man who's single and at peace. Because the world expects you to chase women, chase approval, chase your place in the pack. But when a man stays single long enough, he stops being shaped by the world and starts shaping himself. And that's when he becomes dangerous. This isn't a video about avoiding love. It's not a manifesto for isolation. It's a warning. Because the longer you walk alone, the more you have the chance to become the man most people never meet and the man most people fear. Today we're breaking down why the longer a man is single, the more he transforms, and why that transformation is your greatest test. 1. He meets himself. When you first fall into solitude, it doesn't feel like freedom. It feels like exposure. There's no one to distract you, no partner to absorb your attention, no relationship to hide inside, no one texting "I miss you" to paper over the cracks in your life. Just you and everything you've been outrunning. The regret, the insecurity, the missed chances, the memory of the woman who left, the voice in your head that whispers, maybe you're not enough, maybe you're falling behind. Most men can't stand this moment. They scramble for escape, back to the apps, back to the drinks, back to the endless search for someone, anyone, to distract them from themselves. But here's the paradox, and this is where the Stoic insight hits. The man who stays, who refuses to numb out, who chooses to sit in that fire, discovers something most never will. He learns that the voice in his head, and the one whispering failure, the one replaying old pain, is just that, a voice, not a law, not a prophecy, not the truth. Epictetus said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." And when you stay in the silence long enough, you start to see it. Those doubts, they're echoes, not facts. That pain, it's part of your story, not the end of it. Once you stop running from yourself, you start the process every Stoic understands. You begin mastering yourself. You notice your patterns. You confront your excuses. You watch your thoughts instead of drowning in them. And slowly, the shift begins. You stop reacting like a leaf in the wind. You start choosing your response. You stop needing noise to feel alive. You start building your own center of gravity. Seneca said, "A man who suffers before it is necessary suffers more than is necessary." Most men suffer twice, once from the pain of life, and again from the fear of facing it. But the man who sits with himself realizes there's no need to fear the mirror, because every scar you face becomes a strength you forge. 2. He raises his standards. A man who knows solitude doesn't just have time, he has clarity. And with clarity comes the power to raise his standards. See, most men don't pick their partners. They settle into them. They slip into relationships out of convenience, loneliness, or fear of being left behind. They swipe, they chase, they compromise. Not because they found something rare, but because they can't stand the silence. But the man who stays single long enough, who learns to stand in that silence without flinching, becomes dangerous in a way most people don't understand. He no longer settles. He's tasted peace. He's felt the difference between chaos and calm. He's discovered that his time, his energy, his space are sacred. And when you know that, you don't give it away lightly. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." When your life is flooded with noise, your standards dissolve into whatever surrounds you. But in solitude, your thoughts sharpen, and with them, your ability to see what truly matters. The single man learns to say no. No to women who drain him. No to friendships that deplete him. No to jobs, habits, and environments that pull him away from his path. And here's the paradox. The man who no longer chases becomes the one they chase. Not because he plays games, not because he withholds, but because his life has weight. People feel it. They sense when a man isn't looking to be completed, when he's not hungry for approval, when he's whole on his own. And that presence is rare. Most men dilute their standards to belong. But the man forged in solitude builds standards that elevate him. He's no longer asking, "Who will choose me?" He's asking, "Who is worthy of walking this road with me?" He filters, he waits, and he refuses to trade peace for the temporary high of attention. That's not arrogance. That's discipline. Because the man who chooses peace over desperation is the man who finally has control over his life. 3. He becomes unshakable. There's something rare that happens when a man walks alone long enough. He becomes unshakable, not because life gets easier, not because pain disappears, but because he learns to stand without crutches. See, most men build their lives like houses of cards. They stack their worth on relationships, on attention, on approval. Pull one card and the whole thing collapses. But the man who's learned solitude, who's felt the sting of silence and kept walking, he builds a foundation under himself. He no longer needs someone to regulate his emotions. He no longer needs a partner to feel worthy. He no longer needs noise to feel alive. He becomes his own anchor. Epictetus said, "We cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond to them." The single man learns this not as theory, but as survival. He faces hard days alone. He rides the highs alone. He sits with fear alone. And through that, he learns to respond instead of react. That's where the unshakable presence comes from. Not from coldness, not from apathy, but from a quiet mastery of his own mind. And here's what no one tells you. In a world where people are addicted to attention, the man who is content without it stands out without trying. He doesn't chase applause. He doesn't rush to explain himself. He doesn't bend to avoid rejection. He moves through life with a stillness that people feel, even before he speaks. And when loss comes, when disappointment strikes, he doesn't crumble, because he's been here before, because he's walked through fires without anyone pulling him out. Seneca said, "Difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body." The single man, if he chooses the path well, becomes hardened not in heart, but in resolve. He becomes the man who can carry weight, not just his own, but the weight of others who will one day look to him. So here's the truth you won't hear in most places. The longer a man is single, the more he is invited into transformation. But here's the warning. Solitude doesn't guarantee growth. It tests you. You can waste it, numbing out with distractions, or you can use it, sharpening into the man few have the courage to become. This isn't about isolation. It's not about avoiding love. It's about building a foundation so solid that when love comes, you meet it as a whole man, not a half-built project hoping to be saved. So if you're single right now, don't waste it. Use it. Because the world doesn't need more men chasing approval. It needs more men who've met themselves, raised their standards, and become unshakable. If this spoke to you, type this in the comments. I'm not waiting, I'm building. Because this isn't about isolation, it's about transformation. Hit like if you're done chasing. Subscribe to the Stoic Thinkers and join a brotherhood where we don't beg for approval. We lead from within. Because here we don't just survive solitude, we forge greatness in it.